Welcome to the Economist in Your Ear podcast. Have you ever wondered what happens when a government facing a demographic crunch tries to simultaneously boost its birth rate and empower women in the workplace?
Yeah, it's a huge challenge.
What are the true costs, the complications behind such an ambitious policy, and I guess who ultimately bears the burden? Today, we're going to explore some truly thought-provoking insights focusing on China's current ambition to have women balance both children and careers. Now, on the surface, this sounds, well, unequivocally positive.
A win-win, you'd think.
Exactly. A win-win for families, for the economy.
Yeah.
But as we delve deeper, we'll uncover a much more complex reality at play. Our mission is really to unpack what these policies mean for women on the ground, examining how measures intended to support might actually be falling short, maybe even create new challenges.
Indeed. And I think the real revelation here is how Beijing's policies, which seem well-intentioned, might inadvertently risk entrenching, traditional gender roles.
Right.
And career stagnation, creating a sort of mommy track in disguise. It's so crucial to understand not just the stated goals, but also the deep-seated structural obstacles.
And the unintended consequences.
Exactly. Those unintended consequences that arise when these grand policy objectives kind of collide with everyday life. We'll look at the broader context, the implications, digging into the details that really highlight these challenges, and maybe what a more genuinely effective approach might look like.
Okay, let's unpack this then. The core idea guiding Beijing's recent push is, well, it's a clear demographic imperative. They want women to have more children and stay active in their careers.
Can they do both?
Well, that's the question. And to tackle the declining birth rate, we've seen new incentives. For instance, a national child care subsidy announced back in July 2025.
That's right. This subsidy offers RMB 3,600, which is about US $500 per child under 3 per year.
Okay.
It's explicitly designed to encourage birth, and projections suggest this initiative alone will cost the state something like 100 billion yuan annually.
Wow. That's a significant commitment, at least on paper.
On paper, yes.
And alongside that, the government is actively promoting something they've termed mum jobs. Now, these are supposed to offer mothers with children under 12 more flexible work schedules.
Right, flexibility being the key word there.
And this isn't just some small pilot scheme either. We're seeing provinces like Hubei rolling out province-wide programs this year in 2025.
Yes, and cities like Guangzhou and Chongqing, they've already reported tens of thousands of these positions, and they span quite diverse sectors, e-commerce, manufacturing.
So quite broad.
Yeah. The overarching concept is to foster a birth-friendly society, which is a central part of their national campaign. It's a very visible effort.
And there certainly seems to be, well, a real demand for more flexible work from mothers themselves. An academic from Tsinghua University, Liu Shenglong, highlights this key point.
Yeah.
Women make up a substantial portion of undergraduates in China. If they were to just exit the labor market after having kids, that would represent an enormous waste of talent, of investment.
Oh, absolutely. And a 2023 survey by the All China Women's Federation really backs this up. It found that about 4 in 5 stay-at-home mothers actually want to get back into the workforce.
4 in 5, that's high.
It is. And 2 in 5 were specifically interested in part-time or flexible roles. So the aspiration for continued employment, it's undeniably strong among mothers. They want to contribute both at home and, in the workplace.
Okay, but here's where it gets really insightful, I think, and where we need to maybe scrutinize the framing a bit more closely.
Right.
While the government's goals and the sheer number of these mum jobs might look promising, the actual reality on the ground for these roles, it paints a very different picture, often more challenging.
Absolutely. And what's often missed in the, the big policy announcements is the nature of these roles. The sources show that mum jobs are frequently, menial.
Menial.
Yeah, low-paid, hourly work, often things like factory piecework or basic admin tasks. Take Peng Yingbin, a factory owner in Guizhou, for instance. He offers flexible schedules, which sounds great.
Sounds good on paper.
Exactly. But his workers are paid per piece. So while it offers flexibility, it critically lacks any kind of career progression, job security, or even the accumulation of benefits like pensions and healthcare. It's flexibility without real empowerment.
And this stark reality, it's understandably led to quite a bit of public backlash.
You'd expect it to.
Yeah, one online commenter, I thought, captured it perfectly. They said, and I quote, "In a gender unequal society, this appears to offer mothers job opportunities, but it actually offers them low-paid gig work."
Oof, that's blunt.
It is. And the question, why are there no dad jobs?
Yeah.
apparently became so common, so pointed, that Shanghai ended up rebranding its pilot programs
To what?
to the more neutral but maybe equally telling birth-friendly jobs.
Birth-friendly. That rebranding itself is sort of an implicit admission, isn't it? That targeting mothers primarily with these flexible roles, it entrenches what we call a mommy track.
Explain that a bit more, the mommy track.
Well, it refers to a career path, often sort of chosen by or maybe effectively imposed upon mothers. It offers some work-life flexibility, sure, but it comes at a significant cost.
Which is?
Career progression, professional development, higher earnings. They all tend to stall. And scaling this mommy track up, well, it's fundamentally not genuine female labor market reform. As one woman, Ms. Wang, powerfully describes it, it pushes women even further into marginal positions in the economy.
Marginal position.
Yeah, it raises this really important question. Are these policies truly empowering women, or are they just inadvertently reinforcing traditional gender roles, but, under a new, friendlier label?
And Mrs. Wang's own story, her personal experience, really brings this gap between policy and practice into sharp focus.
What happened to her?
After returning from maternity leave, she worked at an internet giant, her boss told her. Quite bluntly, she'd be seen as less invested now.
Just assumed.
Assumed. Despite her consistently working past 10 p.m. to prove her commitment, she got the worst possible performance rating and was ultimately fired in April.
Wow. Even after trying so hard.
Exactly. And this happened despite her legal entitlement to 158 days of maternity leave and daily breastfeeding time. Rights that exist on paper, but clearly weren't protected in her real-world experience.
Her case just underscores this critical and seemingly pervasive gap between China's official labor laws and how they're actually enforced.
The gap seems huge.
It does. On paper, China's special provisions on labor protection of female employees guarantee 98 days of maternity leave, an hour for breastfeeding daily, and they explicitly ban overtime for the first year after birth.
Sounds comprehensive.
It sounds it. Yet, as Mrs. Wang's experience just vividly shows, the actual practice on the ground often diverges significantly. The legal framework is there, but the enforcement mechanisms, they often seem to fall short, leaving women quite vulnerable.
And speaking of statistics, you mentioned something about the undergraduate figures earlier. What about that claim that women make up nearly 60% of undergraduates? Is that accurate?
Well, the material clarifies that. Official statistics actually show women are closer to 50% of higher education students nationwide, not nearly 60%.
Okay, so 50%, not 60%.
Right. It might seem like a small detail, but it subtly misframes the scale of, female presence in higher education.
Yeah.
It could potentially overstate the problem of women leaving the workforce if the starting number is inflated.
That's an important correction.
Yeah.
Okay, then let's go back to that national child care subsidy we mentioned. RMB, $3,600 a year.
Yes.
It sounds like direct support, but when you connect this to the actual cost of childcare, does it make much difference?
Well, that's the key question. Its impact seems to shrink dramatically when you look at real costs. In Beijing, for example, public nurseries for infants 0 to 3 years old can range from RMB 1,200 up to 3,700 per month.
Per month.
Per month. And in Shenzhen, private fees can easily hit around RMB 6,000 per month.
Goodness.
So that national subsidy, the RMB 3,600 a year, at best, it covers maybe 1 week to 1 month of care in the big cities.
Hardly a game changer then.
Hardly. It's unlikely to sway major career or financial decisions for most families.
That's an enormous disparity. How does China's approach compare internationally, say, with other nations facing similar demographic issues?
The comparison is quite stark, actually. If you look at South Korea, they're also grappling with a very low birth rate. They have a parent pay system that offers about $1 million.
Which is roughly
US $750 per month for infants under 1.
Whoa.
Plus a significant one-off payment.
Per month, okay.
Then there's Japan. They offer $15,000 per month for kids aged 0 to 3, and that goes up to $30,000 per month from the third child onwards.
Right.
Now, you break down China's annual RMB 3,600 subsidy. It's just RMB 300 per month. It really pales in comparison.
It certainly does.
And it clearly demonstrates that for these policies to be truly impactful, you need greater scale, you need comprehensive and affordable childcare, and crucially, you need father-inclusive leave policies, all working together.
So it really isn't just a cultural issue driving these choices. It's fundamentally about the economic incentives, or lack thereof, and importantly, the effectiveness of legal enforcement.
Precisely. China did revise its women's rights and interest protection law in 2023. They specifically banned asking about marriage or kids, pregnancy tests, and hiring.
Okay. That sounds like progress.
It does. Beijing even set fine benchmarks up to RMB 50,000 for violations. However, reports consistently show persistent evasion by employers.
Huh.
And cases are often very difficult to prove, which limits successful prosecutions. So the deterrent effect of these fines seems weak and quite uneven, particularly outside a few pioneering regions maybe making more effort.
So the gap remains.
The gap between the letter of the law and its real-world impact seems significant, yes.
And it also sounds like the way parental leave is currently designed might unintentionally create a kind of hidden tax on women's careers.
This raises a really important question, doesn't it, about how policies can inadvertently reinforce inequality. While Beijing extends local birth leave to, a generous 158 days for many women.
Which is a lot.
It is. But paternity leave is often just 15 days, plus maybe 5 extra days per year per parent of parenting leave until the child is 3.
So heavily skewed towards the mother.
Very heavily skewed. Employer testimony suggests this big difference in leave raises firms' perceived costs of hiring women. It effectively makes companies feel like they're picking up the tab for government policies encouraging births.
I see. The cost falls on the employer.
Exactly. And without shifting these costs away from individual employers, maybe onto social insurance funds, and crucially, introducing substantial use-it-or-lose-it leave for fathers.
Use it or lose it.
Meaning, fathers have to take the leave, or the family forfeits the benefit entirely. International evidence shows this approach significantly increases uptake by dads. Without these changes, the incentives for discrimination against women of reproductive age will likely persist. It normalizes father involvement and shifts employer views.
And what about the broader economic context? The job market headwinds China is facing seem relevant here, too.
Oh, absolutely. That's a critical factor that's maybe underplayed sometimes. Despite women often achieving equal or even better academic results, they face harsher graduate hiring conditions, wider pay gaps, especially in China's currently quite weak job market.
So it's tougher for them anyway.
Yes. And this macroeconomic drag makes any kind of flexible role, no matter how menial or low paid it actually is, look comparatively better than being unemployed. So consequently, it inadvertently reinforces this gender sorting, pushing women into these less progressive, more marginal mom jobs, even if they're highly qualified. It makes even well-intentioned policies less effective when the underlying economy creates such challenges. It's not just about the policies in a vacuum.
It's how they interact with the real economy.
Precisely.
So, given all these complexities, these unintended consequences, what would a more effective, a more genuinely supportive policy mix actually look like for China? How can they truly help women have both children and fulfilling careers?
Well, the core claim that current levers, small subsidies, these mom jobs, aren't enough to realign incentives, that seems fair, but I think the critique needs to go even further.
How so?
As long as the costs of maternity leave fall mainly on individual firms, as long as leave is so heavily mother-skewed, childcare remains patchy and expensive, and legal enforcement against bias is, well, mild.
Then the rational response is?
The entirely rational employer response will be to either avoid hiring women of reproductive age or channel them into these low-progress, less demanding tracks. It's predictable.
So what are the concrete steps then? What should we be watching for to see if China is making genuine progress on this?
Okay, first and foremost, shift the costs off the firms. Fund extended maternity and parenting leave centrally from social insurance or general government revenue, not employer payrolls.
Take the burden off the individual company.
Exactly. And maybe even tie things like government procurement credits or tax relief to demonstrated compliance with gender-equal hiring and promotion. Second, make fathers much more visible and active participants.
The use it or lose it leave.
Yes. Introduce non-transferable paid and substantial father leave. Because the international evidence is pretty clear, uptake only really rises significantly when it's use it or lose it. It helps create that societal expectation for dads to be involved.
Okay. Makes sense. And what about childcare? That seemed like a massive hurdle.
Huge. We need to see a massive scaling up of public, affordable childcare, especially for the 0-3 age group. The state is expanding these inclusive nurseries, but coverage and prices still vary wildly.
So consistency is key.
And affordability. It'll be crucial to track whether that RMB 3,600 national benefit actually gets meaningfully stacked with local fee caps or other subsidies to really reduce the out-of-pocket cost for families, not just be a token amount.
Right. And for career paths, beyond just these mom jobs.
We need to see the creation of genuine career reentry pathways, not just these limited roles.
Like what?
Think about proper returnship programs for skilled mothers who've taken time out. robust, enforced anti-bias measures and promotions, and critically, ensuring that flexibility, when offered, is coupled with full benefit accrual.
So pensions, medical insurance.
Exactly. Part-time work shouldn't become this gaping hole in a woman's long-term financial safety net. And finally, enforcement of the existing laws just needs real teeth.
Stronger penalties.
The legal framework is mostly there, but that current fine ceiling, up to RMB 50,000, it's often too small to really deter large corporations. Provinces need to perhaps codify more detailed penalties and, importantly, publish lists of violation cases. That transparency could act as a real deterrent.
Ultimately, then, while the state has definitely started to move, we see the national subsidies, stricter rules on paper, it seems, the scale and the design of these policies.
Especially around fathers and financing.
Right. Those will be the true determinants of whether women in China can genuinely have it all, or if these efforts, however well-intentioned, just end up being a new label for the same old mommy track.
It's a critical juncture.
It really makes you wonder, what societal costs do we incur, both the ones we see and the ones we don't, when policies designed to help inadvertently create new barriers or just solidify old inequalities? Thanks for listening. Follow us so you won't miss the latest from The Economist magazine every day, and don't forget to like, comment, and share.